Welcome to the LeanBlog podcast. Visit our website at www.leanblog.org. Now, here's your host, Mark Graban.
Hi, this is Mark Graban. This is episode number 41 of the LeanBlog podcast for April 27th, 2008. This is the third and final part of a recent series with Professor Jeffrey Liker from the University of Michigan, where we're talking about his most recent book, Toyota Culture. Today we have a question that came in from a blog reader about developing managers and some of the trade-offs and factors involved in developing managers in place versus rotating them in the organization. What impact does rotating managers have on leadership and culture, how Toyota handles that. So I hope you enjoy what Professor Liker has to say and that you'll come back for more episodes of the podcast. Thanks for listening. I wanted to ask one question that I think would tie in well to topics in the book. This is a question that actually came from a reader of my blog. He's an engineer at a really large, probably even Fortune 100 company, let alone Fortune 500. His question was, how often do frontline and the next level of management personnel change? And Toyota or companies that have successfully implemented the Toyota production system, that he thought that this idea of respect for people would be better sustained when you have longer term relationships between workers and their management. And at a more traditional company, I think like his, management changes every 18 months or so. It's hard to develop those relationships. So I'm curious what your thoughts or
like
comparisons
the people value stream takes many years. Arguably takes at least a decade to develop an assistant manager, say. You could develop a team leader a little bit more quickly than that. But the responsibility for leadership and for reinforcing Toyota culture is going on at every level, from the president down to the team leader. And the team leader is an hourly person, and the team leader only has 5 to 8 people who they support. So there's, that's very intimate at that level. And the team leader is working with those people every day, doing the job sometimes, other times off the job, supporting. So at any of those levels, if you start to turn over people every 18 months, you never have time to even develop anybody
Mm-hmm.
to the level needed to be a teacher and a mentor. So you need some sort of critical mass. I don't know exactly what that percentage is, whether it's 50% or 70% or 80%, but you need a core critical mass of people who stay there and who continue to learn, and then you can afford to have some turnover and movement as long as you have that critical mass. Like I said, I don't know exactly what that number is. Now, Toyota actually does move people around inside the company to develop them, and that's part of that people value stream, is that they want people to continually to grow and develop to the extent they want to. So one person may be happy to be a team leader and stay a team leader, and they want to stay in that area, and they want to stay on day shift, and to advance they need to go to night shift or something like that. So that person stays a team leader for 25 years, and that happens. But somebody else wants to move high. They want to move to maybe they want to learn maintenance, or they may move them to the Kaizen group or to a pilot team that introduces new products. And, of course, when they do that, they're taken out of their role,
Mm-hmm.
and now that group has to replace them. The group leader would then be responsible for figuring out, the group leader is responsible for knowing the next 3 people in line to be team leaders
Mm-hmm.
who come from the group. And those people should already be trained and ready to go when he loses a team leader to the pilot team. So now if you change too many people, if the group leader changes at that same time and all the team leaders were to change, that work group is going to be in trouble, and then they have to move people from another part of the plant, and that they'll find experienced team leaders and group leaders to rebuild that group, and then of course that group is now weaker, so it has a domino effect. But that's the kind of movement they do. And then at a higher level, if a general manager leaves, they have to have assistant general managers there to take their place. And occasionally they have to hire somebody from outside. And when they do that, they have to find somebody who already has the characteristics. Fortunately, there's other companies like Subaru or NUMMI where they can find people with similar sorts of experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have to be surrounded by people who've been there for a long time, who can then teach them and indoctrinate them. They have to have the mentality that I'm here to learn, I'm not here to lead and bring my way to Toyota, and they can bring it. But so anyway, the point is that you always have to have a critical mass of people in any one area that have grown up and understand the Toyota way, and then they can absorb new people who fit in and who are willing to learn.
Yeah.
And that's happening all the time now. You go to another company that has the kind of turnover that you were talking about, and number one, they probably never really consciously developed a culture.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the culture sort of evolved, but they don't consciously try to teach their culture, and they don't know exactly what it is, and they don't have very strong beliefs about what it is. So then it's even harder to teach something that you haven't defined yourself.
Right.
And then in addition to that, people are coming and going, and there's no rhyme or reason. And so the culture is constantly in flux. And and that's unfortunately life in most of the companies. Now they try to do lean, and but they're going to they will look at lean as a set of tools to eliminate waste, and they will want to teach people these tools so that they can eliminate waste. And they're going to get a certain amount of benefit that can be significant because they probably have so much waste and so much low-hanging fruit. But once they get past that initial low-hanging fruit, they're going to have trouble sustaining even what they've done, let alone continually improving. So the answer is to the person who asked that question would be, yes, you have to have a degree of stability before you can create a culture of continuous improvement. And senior management has to understand the value of truly developing people, and that it takes time, and that people are coming and going all the time. You never can really develop that culture.
Yeah. So is it fair to assume then there's probably not a rote off the cuff number of it makes sense to leave people in place for X number of years? It's more of just figuring out what makes sense.
Speaking Toyota's rule of thumb is 3 years as a minimum.
Oh, okay. It seems like the mindset. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And in the case of the president, the current president, that's a 5-year position, and at lower levels it might be 3 years. But less than 3 years, it's hard to really even learn enough and get the trust of the people enough to make a big contribution. But the more important thing than the number of years is who's there, work group by work group by work group, who's in that work group who provides the leadership, and do they have the capacity if they lose one person? And is there somebody else who can come in and replace you if you leave? But like I said, there's a lot of rotation in Toyota inside the company and the expectation is that if I'm a manager and my best person, and I'm in manufacturing engineering, and they're starting up a new plant in Mexico, and it'll be a great developmental experience for my best person to go down there for 3 years and help in the startup and really teach and take a leadership role. The expectation is, I should say, you need to do this for you. You need to take this opportunity. Don't worry, I'll figure it out. I'll find somebody, and then expect that the human resource department will be working with me, and we'll find somebody who can replace that person. But it's not acceptable for me to just hang on to somebody just because I lean on them and they're, and trust them, and don't want, So there's an expectation that good people are good people, and somebody who's learned the Toyota way is going to be able to do the job, and therefore you don't want to kind of get people stuck in a given position.
Right. It seems like a lot of big companies, their idea of we develop people by promoting them or moving them. And it seems like what you're describing with this, the quality people value stream is that you should be developing people every day. They should be learning and developing.
Right.
It shouldn't require a promotion to
right.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes even moves or lateral moves. And somebody will say, I was in assembly, now I'm doing the same thing in paint. I have so much to learn, and I have to learn that before I could go up to a general manager level. And they're willing to move for 2 or 3 years at a lateral level because they know there's something that they need to learn.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate your time and your thoughts here. Again, our guest was Professor Jeffrey Leiker from the University of Michigan and the author, most recently, of Toyota Culture. So if you're listening and you want to get more information about this and his other books, you can check the show notes on my blog. And would you also like to tell listeners a little bit about OptiPrize and the work you do through that organization?
Well, it's a private consulting company, and we've been working with companies just as any other consulting firm. We try to stick to the Toyota philosophy and teaching the Toyota way and taking the perspective that we're teachers and coaches, and we're not going to do it for you, and we're not here to implement XYZ tool and get this amount of cost savings. We're here to develop your people to understand this lean mindset, and so we're trying to transfer the knowledge. And we do focus on a few key people who become internal lean leaders because you have to start someplace, and that's usually our starting point. And at the same time, I often will spend time coaching the senior management. So that's what we do, and we're trying to do our best to teach what we've learned.
Okay, and if people are interested in learning more about the firm, there's a website, I assume?
Yeah, it's www.optiprize.com.
Okay, well, great. Well, again, appreciate your time and certainly appreciate your writing and your new books. So thanks for your time today.
Welcome. Good to talk to you again, Mark.
Thanks for listening. This has been the LeanBlog Podcast. For Lean news and commentary updated daily, visit www.leanblog.org. If you have any questions or comments about this podcast, email Mark at leanpodcast@gmail.com.